Hi everybody, how are you doing today? So nice to be with you once again this afternoon. Um, Today is our season final, and yes, it's the last Sunday with you guys. But the feedback was so great so that we started working on something else for next year, and I can't wait to share with you. Um, Today we're receiving Jo, and she as well as an amazing story. I can't wait for you to hear it, and hopefully it will be very helpful to somebody and in your process of growing and healing. So I'm going to add Jo to the live. Yeah, it's getting, the weather's changing in New York. Yes. Hi. How are
Hi,
you doing?
good. How are you?
I'm good. So nice seeing you.
You too, beautiful.
How was the vacations?
I can't complain. I can't complain. Celebrating my friend who's getting married, so we're just celebrating that.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon.
Thanks for
Uh,
having me.
awesome. Always. So okay. So we I hope you watch a past interview. So we're gonna start right into it. And to begin, I'm gonna let you introduce yourself. Talk a little bit about you, what you do. Like, who is Jo?
Okay. All right. So yes, hi. My name is Jo Cabey. I am a native of the Bronx, New York. I currently still live in New York City as well. Um, by trade, I'm an educator, so I'm the director of mathematics at a school. I work part-time as a professor, and I most recently started a book publishing company due to me uh, being an author in 2020. So I wear a lot of hats, but also I do advocacy work, and I know that's how you and I met.
Yes.
Working as a speaker for RAINN, and just also personally, anytime that I do get the opportunity to speak out about anything in regards to abuse, mental health, wellness, all of that, because I think we all have something that we can share from that. Not necessarily, yeah, we've experienced traumatic events, but you don't necessarily have to go through anything traumatic to help someone. So
Exactly.
that's something that is very dear to me because I know, especially in our community, Black community, Caribbean community, that we don't talk about a lot of those things.
No.
And this is the reason why there's so much trauma that's passed down from generations to generations because we don't talk about anything. So
Exactly.
um, that makes me so proud that I'm able to have opportunity to meet people like you and to have these conversations, whether it's on Instagram or just in real life, is so important and is so necessary because it is saving a lot of people.
Exactly. You can show them there's life. You can thrive after the whole, what happened to you doesn't have to define you. You can
Absolutely.
grow past it.
Yes.
And I was so excited about that publishing company, girl. I was like, I can't wait to work with her again.
Thank
I
you.
am so excited for you.
I appreciate it.
All right. So, okay, today title is surviving trauma, right? So, I'm gonna let you explain a little bit what happened to you, and then afterwards we'll get really into the questions.
Okay, yeah, no problem. So, yes, in terms of my trauma, unfortunately, I was a victim of sexual abuse as a child and then also as an adult. So, I had those two traumatic experiences, but what I would say from what I did go through as a child and unfortunately living in a household where I was being molested by my uncle, Never healing from that, never telling anyone about that, being a kid and going through puberty and just going through so many different things and not knowing how to process it. I carried that throughout my
Mm-hmm.
teenage years. And then it also transitioned into my adult life, which also transitioned, sorry, into the
Yeah.
relationship that I had with men. Um, and then the most recent one, the event in 2018, unfortunately, is where I can say that I was a victim of rape on a first date with someone. And I just know, like, for me going through both of those things, the most important thing that I took away from it is, what do you do after those things happen?
Yeah.
My immediate go-to in the past, whenever anything traumatic happened, was just to find a way to hide it or to cover it up or to pretend like it didn't happen.
Never happened.
And it did so much more damage than good in my life. But again, I'm fortunate that I'm in a place now where I've healed from it. I've done the work. I've done everything that I needed to overcome it. But
Mm-hmm.
for a lot of people, right, we
They're
don't know
not
what
there.
to do when those things happen. So it's easier for me to say this now, but I
Mm-hmm.
empathize with people who are still going through these situations, because sometimes you really don't know what to do.
And you're still asking yourself, like, did that really happen to me? And is that a dream, a nightmare? Like, how to deal with this?
Yeah, for
Okay.
sure.
So, did you know? I know you said the first time it was your uncle, but the second time, oh, it was a first date. So you both time you did know the person, and they
Yeah,
weren't like strangers that walking on the street and then it just happened. So,
right.
when this situation happened, did you realize at this moment was happening that you were getting attacked? Like, were you getting molested? Like, I know you were younger, but
Right.
and the second time, like, did you realize at the moment, oh my gosh, this is happening to me? That's what's happening.
Yeah, well, definitely, like you just said, yeah, when I was a child, I didn't know what was going on. Um, I was, I believe, 13, 12, 13, somewhere around the eighth grade year, seventh, eighth grade. So I didn't know anything about sex. I didn't know anything about sexual intimacy, anything. I knew it didn't feel right, but I also didn't know that it was necessarily wrong, because, again, I had no context for it. But definitely the situation in 2018, I absolutely knew what was happening. And I was put in a situation where pretty much like I was locked inside of it. So yeah, I was sharing about the second event that happened to me. So yeah, essentially this person was a stranger. We didn't really know each other for a long time before we went on the first date, but I was in a situation where I knew my safety was compromised
Okay.
because I was in an apartment. I didn't really know this person. It was very clear that he didn't want me to leave. I said no numerous times and it wasn't listened to. So I knew what was happening. Like when, the intercourse started and I'm just like, no, stop, get off of me, all of this. And he wouldn't listen. I'm like, okay, Joe, yeah, this is this is happening. So yeah, that was the
Okay.
yeah.
And I mean, you said no multiple times, but how can you describe what you did in terms of fighting back? Because like when the situation happened, most of the time people say stuff like, "Oh, you were sending mixed signal." Maybe
Yeah,
your mouth was saying no, but I don't know if it really mattered. But yeah,
yeah.
your body was saying yes, or maybe you said no and then you said yes and you said no. So like, I just wanted kind of make it clear, like, what did you do in terms
Absolutely.
of fighting back?
Yeah, well, I definitely, I mean, I guess to even just set the stage, like, I think that helps with the context. The guy that I did go on the date with, he lived in an apartment that had like a really nice like game room and entertainment and all of this.
Mm,
So we started off in a public place. It was nice.
okay.
We went to the pool. We had, a glass of wine. We were talking, and he asked me if I wanted to go out to dinner afterwards. And I said, sure. So it's like, all right, let's go downstairs. I'm going to get my wallet, put these things away,
Oh.
and then we'll go. So, I went into the apartment with him, like, okay, yeah, you're just going to grab your wallet and you go. And once he locked that door, it was just like, whoop, just
Mm,
total switch. And that's when, he started approaching me. And I'm just like, no, like, let's go get your wallet and do
Yeah,
what we
yeah,
said we
yeah,
were
yeah,
gonna
yeah, yeah.
do. And it went from 0 to 100. It was just really like, he got me on the bed, started taking my clothes off, and I verbally did state no numerous times. I don't there wasn't a time before the intercourse happened where, like, yeah, my body language was 1000% like, no, this is not going to happen. But then once I realized that he wasn't listening, that's when I said, you know what, Joe, I didn't want to fight back too much because unfortunately, we do know sometimes in these situations, some
You
women
get
don't make it out alive, or some women make it out, physically hurt in other
yeah,
ways. And because I didn't know what he was capable with it of, I said, you know what?
because
Let me just let
yeah,
this happen, close my mouth, and as soon as I had the
so bad.
opportunity to run out, I did. But yeah, that's how it happened.
But did you at any moment blame yourself for what happened?
Yeah, I did. I blame myself a lot actually, after it did, because, I was like, Joe, you should have just waited outside. Or,
No.
I started going through the rabbit hole, like, I should have never met with him and all these things. But, now, of course, I don't blame myself. I don't think I did anything wrong, but it has taught me just certain things to look for, and like, just, even in my dating life, like certain things to not rush so that I don't end up putting myself in a position like that. And obviously I know now it wasn't my fault. That was 100% him and whatever he had going on with himself. But at the time, oh yeah, I had so much guilt and I was angry at myself. I was depressed. I was disappointed. But yeah, which is natural. A lot of
I know.
survivors, we go through that when you
And
don't.
you think like you should have known better, especially being that older. It's like, you know, but yeah, things happen and
Yeah,
you don't create the situation.
yeah,
Did you report the situation?
I
And
didn't right away. Right away, I didn't. I think I reported it maybe 2 weeks after.
mm-hmm.
Weeks. And that was only because I confided in two of my best friends. I had called them on three-way and I told them what happened because I just couldn't hold it in. And they
Yeah.
were the ones that urged me to. I don't think if I wouldn't have talked to them, I probably wouldn't have reported it, because also I was embarrassed. I was extremely embarrassed and ashamed. And I did not want to tell anyone, like, oh my goodness, this is what happened to me. So yeah, I did report it. Unfortunately, it didn't really go anywhere. They did investigate, they tried to find him and all of these things, but it took like, the process took an extremely long time. And from my perspective, I don't feel like the people who were helping me in this case, like the SVU, Special Victims Unit,
Yeah.
is a real thing, not
Oh
just on
wow.
TV,
Really?
but
Oh my gosh.
they I don't I felt a lot of judgment from them, to be
Oh.
honest. I didn't feel like supportive. And one of the things that I hope to do, I know you probably will talk about this later, but I really hope to be in a position to partner with authorities
Mm-hmm.
who have to deal with this, because there's a certain type of emotional empathy that you need to have
Exactly.
when you're
To
speaking to
do.
victims.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't get that, and that really just like made me feel even worse about
That's
going
interesting
through
that
the
you're saying
process.
that because I was in a meeting yesterday and the person was saying the exact same thing with the
Wow.
same exact words.
Wow.
Um, so and then listening to you talking as well, I found it very interesting that when this situation happened, somehow the victim feel more remorse and more shame
Yeah.
and more like than the person who was actually committing the action.
Yeah.
It's something that we should really look into next time as well.
Yeah.
It's like, why? So, based on what you're telling me, they never find this person. This person is still out there.
Yeah, they did it. I remember one of the detectives, saying like, yeah, the numbers were changed, and they tried to go to the apartment and really couldn't find them. There was, yeah, it just hit a dead end. Um, but then, I really also just personally, I don't feel like they were doing all that they could have done. But yeah, it didn't go anywhere, and I really just hope and pray that that person was not able to inflict that type of harm on someone else. So, but I don't know. I
Oh
don't know.
my
But it's
gosh.
bad.
And wow. Okay. So this is hitting me, sorry.
No, it's okay.
My next question. Right after, talking about your emotion, were you afraid of being pregnant or having STDs? How was, these
Yes.
moments for you?
Extremely, extremely terrified of both of those things. I remember the night that I came home after that. Um, and I was in the shower and I was just doing what you do in the shower, right, cleaning myself up, and that was the first thoughts in my head. I was like, what if he did this because he had something and wanted to, people do that as
Yeah.
revenge to other people, right? So I do remember that, the end of that week, going to the clinic and getting tested and making sure that everything was okay, which thank God it was. But yeah, I was definitely terrified of that because again, I didn't really know this man.
And right now, how do you feel about, like, I guess I'm trying to, how do you feel, how do you express your feel? Are you afraid of meeting new people, afraid of being alone? Are you afraid that this might happen again? How is your trust level? Like, how no, something like that happening to you change you forever. It doesn't
Right,
matter how much work you put into it, but it
right.
never leaves you. So
Right. I could say definitely not. Like, I'm definitely not afraid to meet new people, but the way I approach new situations is extremely different, right? Like,
okay.
yes, I want to believe, and I'm still a person that does believe that, for the most part, most people have great intentions, but you have to be realistic. Everybody doesn't have great intentions for you. So I'm just a little bit more cognizant of that. And like I said, especially when it comes to dating, like, at first when that happened, oh yeah, I didn't trust anybody. I was very scared. I was very on edge. I cried every day and every night just because I had all these emotions and I didn't know how to process it because at that time I wasn't going to therapy. But now, from going through to that and having all these different tools and knowing myself, I'm just being more cognizant about the types of situations that I put myself in, right? So I would never have, go to somebody's house on a first date, right? Like, that's
Yeah,
something that
yeah,
is just not going to happen because of, what I experienced in the past. And for me, what's very refreshing about just my whole journey is that you start to learn yourself. And
mm-hmm.
one of the biggest things that I know that I have are certain boundaries, right? And I am not afraid to express them and to share
Okay.
them to people that I'm getting to know. And if they are not okay with those boundaries that I put forth, that is a wonderful, wonderful indicator to me that this is someone that I don't need to continue with, right? So, in that sense, it's definitely just made me a little more like with it when it comes to what I'm going to tolerate and not. So, I'm not scared anymore, but I'm going into things with just like a sharper eye.
Got it. Okay. Thank
Yeah.
you so much for sharing with us. And then you mentioned your two best friends, right? They were very supportive, but in terms of treatment, right? Did you feel like you after this were you being treated differently, or it remained the same? You didn't regret sharing these moments with them.
No, I didn't regret sharing it. It actually felt relieving, to be honest, because again, I so used to just holding everything in. Like, I'm an expert at that. So it did feel good to share it with them. They definitely didn't treat me any different. I know, like, they checked in on me. They also, again, urged me to report it and everything
Yeah.
like that. So I'm grateful that I did. And it just also showed me the importance of having people in your life that you can even be that vulnerable with, because again, unfortunately, there are a lot of people who don't have a strong support system and don't have people to lean on. So I'm grateful that I did have people to come to during that time.
Yeah. And okay, this happened, you reported, didn't do nothing about it, and I know you said emotionally you were, very devastated, but now it happened, the days are passing. How was your recovery process? What helped you heal? What were the resources that you find um helpful? Where did you turn yourself to?
Well, I'm going to be honest with you. At that time, I did not know how to properly heal and recover. I didn't. So when that happened, I remember, I think less than a week later, I was like on a flight to go to Mexico because I'm like, I'm going on my trip and I'm going to forget about everything and I'm going to have fun.
Denial
And,
phase.
yeah. But it was just, again, it's just like a cover up, just trying to put band-aids on it so that I wouldn't think about it. Um, I wasn't practicing healthy habits, I guess I would say. Like, I mean, traveling is great. I love it. But for a very long portion of my life, it was just used as an outlet just to escape so much stuff that I was going through. So I would say that. I mean, I jumped into a relationship very quickly after, like less than 2 months. That's when I got
Wow.
into a very serious relationship that I was not ready for because I never
Mm-hmm.
took the time to process that.
Process.
I
Mm-hmm.
went into this relationship hoping that this person will help me just to forget about everything and, just heal me. And that's going to
Yeah.
be, what it is that's going to
Make you
make me
feel
better.
better.
Yeah, and of course that's the wrong approach. So I would say, like in honesty, I didn't heal properly, but after the fact, a year later, when I actually sat down and went to therapy and started learning about, ways to help go through trauma, then I was
Mm-hmm.
able to process it. So my processing came way much later.
Mm. Better late than never.
Yeah, it's so true. Better late than never. I mean, it's yeah, it's
And
unfortunate that I just didn't know, right? I didn't know the tools, I didn't know what to do, I didn't know the resources. And it's funny because I was already working with
into
RAINN
that
at that
field.
point.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was. So it's like I knew what was out there, but again, it's just like when you're just so much in denial
Sitting
and
down
like,
and deal with the fact that this really happened to you, that wasn't somebody else,
yeah,
that was actually you, is just
it's
embracing
hard.
this idea that you were violated. It's a whole nother level.
Yeah,
And I was saying yesterday as well, like as human we have learned to develop some really messed up coping mechanism. It's not because they're working for us that they mean it good, but they help us get to the next level, and we've been doing them for so long. For somehow,
yes,
if it's keeping me alive, that might be something right with it, but that's
right.
not necessarily true.
So true. Yeah, you're so right.
And what did you learn from this situation? I know, like, now you know better, you're more cautious, and but how did, well, I guess what I'm trying to ask is, how this changed your life, from who you were before and who you are today?
Well, I would say it changed my life in a lot of ways. Of course, again, it helped me to establish boundaries, but more so than anything, it really allowed me just to see like my strength, and it's unfortunate that it took something like that, but some people again don't make it out of those situations alive. Some people after those situations go through so much internal devastation, and unfortunately we know there's a lot of people who take their lives, right? There's a lot of people who
Yeah.
self-harm. There's a lot of people who inflict harm on other people because they were hurt, right? So
Yeah.
um I'm very fortunate that I had other things to kind of distract me, with work and traveling and this and that, friends, family, doing things. But um, it's also taught me the importance of speaking up about these things because they are extremely common. Unfortunately, things that you have experienced,
Yeah.
Joanne, things I have experienced, things that all of these people you've been talking to throughout these months have experienced, unfortunately, are not just like, oh, rare occurrences. These are things that constantly happen, and it
Every
helped
day.
me. Yeah, and it's unfortunate, but it helped me to be confident in finding this voice and to be able to have these conversations like with you and with other people, because the more that we do it, the more other people are going to
You
become more able
realize.
to speak out. Yeah. And
Yeah,
that's the thing, right? We want to eradicate this stuff, and it's not going to happen if we don't talk about it and if we don't acknowledge that these things actually happen. So, yeah.
exactly. It's like we can't keep moving on like this never happened,
Yep.
and bury it under the rug and then moving along.
Yep.
But it actually really takes a lot for you to get to the point where you feel so confident and you get to the space where you can actually open up and talk about it. It really,
Yeah.
you have to get to that point. It's hard, and for some people it takes longer than some others.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. It does take long for some others, but again, like I thank God that I'm in a space where I can talk about this and be okay, right? Like 3 years ago was not happening. I'm in a space that I can do it now. And again, like it really just comes from my desire just to help other people, help other women that look like me or people that look like me, because it is it is something that we don't talk about, but it happens, right? So, yeah,
All the
that's where all
time.
of this comes from. Yeah.
And earlier I mentioned, right, what happened to you, your circumstances, they don't have to define who you are and your future,
Right.
right? So we know all of this happened, but at the same time, I know that Joe is an amazing person. So would you mind sharing with us, in your opinion, what is your biggest accomplishment today?
I would say just honestly, my biggest accomplishment is being in a space where I know who I am and here, being in a space where I'm very clear about the things that I want in my life. I'm not afraid to express it. I'm not afraid to go and get it. And all the healing work. Like, yes, I've written some books now. Yes, I'm helping people publish books. Yes, my career, all of these things, those are great, but this is the first time I would say, like, yeah, it's been over a year that this is actually a time where I can say, like, internally and
Mm-hmm.
emotionally and mentally, that I have so much clarity, and it really feels so good. It was a long time coming. And I say it so much. I know last year so many people heard me talk about this, but going to therapy and taking out the time to really just like work through years and years of childhood trauma is probably one of the most important things that anybody can do with their lives, because once you're able to like get rid of all of that gunk and know how to work the inner parts of yourself, the rest of your life is going to flourish. Because now
Yeah.
it's like, for me, I kind of think about it like before, like I was just like walking through a fog kind of, and now it's like it's so clear, like I know like what paths I want to go on because I got rid of that fog. But it takes time, it takes work,
Yes.
it's not easy. There's a lot of tears, it's a lot of being honest with yourself,
I
it's
know.
a lot of maybe some people in my life that I thought needed to be here doesn't need to be here anymore, and that's also difficult, right? So it's a lot of things, but the outcome of it is so much greater than any of what you went through.
And you saying all this is making me think, because I remember when I met you, it was probably around like 2014 or 15, or I don't know, something like that. But
Yeah,
I as long as I can remember seeing you, you always have been like bubbly, excited and
yeah,
smiling. And I was like, oh my gosh, that girl, because I remember when we started working together, I myself, I was in a different place. It's just I was just starting doing this, and I was only doing it because I wanted to help and do something different. But it's not like I was there, because
yeah.
everything was so fresh. And I remember looking at you and I was like, oh my gosh, I guess if she can do this, I can do this too. And then, watching like all your traveling and your posting and everything always been inspiring to me. And that's when I remember when we like again and hearing you sharing what happened in 2018 was very heartbreaking to me. And it's
Yeah.
something that we know, but sometimes like we don't really think about it. We obviously we know that we shouldn't base ourselves on people's outside appearance or how they express themselves to kind of like based on judgment. But somehow this always happened, and
Yeah.
and and um and I could never tell even after you were saying this happened to you and everything,
Yeah.
but I never remember seeing you. Even if you say you were crying, but it's not like you were doing what everybody can see. It's like
Right.
somehow, like I said, we developed these coping mechanisms. We're still able to get up, get
Yep.
dressed, wear the smile,
With your
because at
face.
this
Yep.
point, it's like you're wearing it. That's not how you feel inside, but you
Yep.
wear it and then you go outside and project a version of yourself that's not necessarily true. And I guess I'm saying all this just to say, to everybody who's listening, there's absolutely no need to base yourself somebody's like situation, life, posting or whatever, to kind of like based on judgment, because you never know what's happening behind closed door. You don't know the stories, you don't know the work that they had to do inside of the house to get themselves out of the house, and kind of like wear that smile and move on every day and keep doing the things that they need to do. I just wanted to share that real quick.
No, that's real. So, so real. And that's, you what you said just brings me back to my why, in 2020, yeah, last year, that when I decided I didn't want my Instagram to just be about travel anymore, I just wanted to be about anything, is because of that reason. People always like, oh, Joe, your life is so amazing, and it's this and it's that. And yes, I do live a wonderful life. Praise be to God, that He's blessed me with a great life. But what you see is not what's really happening in here. And, I work with children. I see beautiful black and brown kids every day. And I know just with the power of social media, when we
Mhm.
see, these images of these people looking like they have the perfect life, and that makes us subconsciously believe that there's no problems happening and there's no issues, and that's just not reality. And I just knew, for me, I didn't want, again, I'm not like a crazy big influencer, but there are people who are watching, right? And I don't
Mhm.
know who's watching. There's people I know, there's
Yes.
people I don't know, and I don't want anybody to ever think that, life is perfect. And
Yes.
that is my why. That is why I've been open with everything and sharing and writing the book, because yeah, we all go through some stuff, and it's important just to know that it's okay. It's
Yeah, it is.
1,000% okay.
Exactly. All right, thank you so much. And next question: what is something that people tend to misunderstand about you?
Oh, I think actually what I just shared just now. Yeah, I think that's what it is. I mean, obviously, for people who don't really know me personally on a personal level, I think, yes, the social media makes everything look just glamorous, right? We share our highlights, we share
I
our
know.
best pictures, our best smiles, our best outfits. So I think that's one thing for sure that I know, and I've heard people say it, especially last year when I released the book and I was open about my abuse and my trauma and all of this stuff, and people was like, "Oh my gosh, like I would have never thought that about you." So
Hmm.
I would say that, like, that's definitely something that has been misunderstood about me. But again, we have these type of conversations, and I think just in general, which I
Yeah.
really do love, that we're just seeing a shift, especially on social media, with how open people are about their things that have happened, or
Yeah.
ways to cope. And a lot of even just therapists and therapy pages and people that drop like tips and all of these things. It's amazing. There's so many resources out here now. So I think
Try,
the
at
tide
least
is
they
shifting.
taking away the shameful part. You don't need to
Yeah,
feel so ashamed of something that happened to you,
yes,
especially when you're not the one who made that thing
yeah,
happen to you, not responsible. But we know somehow it's still there. But at least talking about it and being more open and embracing it, I hope hopefully it will help many other people realize that like you said, nobody has the perfect life. We all go through different things, We
Yeah.
just learn how to deal with them different ways. Like, and then our ways, some of us not might be the best ways, but it's just how we get to, get ourselves out of bed and move on, and not, becoming like suicidal or something.
Yeah.
But life is hard for everybody on one level or another. We all have a story.
Hmm.
And Joe, if you could turn back, go talk to your 18 years old self, what advice would you give her?
I would tell her just to take time to get to know yourself.
Mm,
Everyone doesn't have to like you. Everyone doesn't have to be in your circle. I would tell my younger self, it's okay to not be okay, because
mhm.
for a very long time, anytime I wasn't feeling well, like I would tell myself, like, no, you have to cut this off, cut this emotion off. So definitely just I would tell myself it's okay to feel my emotions. It's okay to cry. It's okay to feel sad and not know why you're sad, you know?
Yeah.
I always have to be so strong. I would tell myself that for sure.
Thank you so much. That's really good thing you're sharing. Um, where do you see yourself in a few more years?
And in a few more years, well, I pray to hopefully be able to run my own school. That's one of my dreams, is to have my own school or to be a principal, something along those lines. I pray also to continue to do this type of work. Um, it's important, it's necessary. You know, having connections with people like you and what you're doing is absolutely amazing. And
Thank you.
all of the resources and the conferences and the workshops that you do is amazing. So I hope to still be in a space where I can contribute to what other people are doing, because there's already a lot of great things happening. And I mean, I just hope just to still be doing the work, because it doesn't stop, right? Like we have to constantly work on ourselves and grow and mature emotionally and mentally. So I just hope to be in a space where I'm continuing to be happy in everything that I do. And yeah, that's it. I just want to have peace in my life. That's the main headline.
Peace is everything at this point. That's funny how you get older. It'll be like, oh my gosh, I
Yeah,
just like I need some quiet time right now. I just
that's
like
it.
can't
Peace.
all the extra. And for anybody who's listening, right? Whether or not they went through something similar, or um, whether or not they accept it, whether or not they reach that space where they able to try, right? What advice who will give to them, for anybody who's looking for a breakthrough?
I would say first, like, you have to be honest with yourself, right? Like, being honest with yourself when you know things aren't feeling good. Like, we all have that inner compass or our gut or God or whatever it is that you call it when you know that something's off. So, being honest with that, I would say that's the first thing. And then also, like, deciding, are you going to do something about it? Right? Because you only have two choices. It's like, yeah, I'm just going to keep pushing through when things don't feel right, or I'm going to try to change them. And hopefully, my prayer and my hope is that we work towards changing it, because the more you try to cover up, the more
Yeah,
you just weighing yourself down. So
exactly.
that's the advice that I would have, because again, that it doesn't mean you have to have go through what I went through. We're all living life. We all gonna have highs and lows. That's just a part of it. So it's like acknowledge it and then let's take some actions about it.
All right, thank you so much, Joe. And for everybody who's listening, you already know you're on Instagram, but how can they reach out after this? If they have any questions and I don't know, comment or whatever, they want to just express themselves to Joe because they can relate to you. Where can they find you?
Yeah, they can find me here Instagram. This is my handle here, Journey with Joe underscore. My email, info@journeywithjoe.com. All of those links are in my Instagram bio. So if anyone wants to reach out that way, I would love to always welcome these types of conversations.
Well, thank you so much, Joe. As usual, it's been such a pleasure
Thank you for having
to have you, especially for my last episode. I thank
me.
you for taking the time out of your
No,
time, and like you mentioned, when I started doing this, I didn't even realize it was gonna turn into um what it is now, and the people feedback are so amazing that
that,
I started working on something else, and hopefully we'll keep this going, and
yes,
I'm so grateful for everybody who has joined each time and then listen, ask question, comment, and this really means a lot. Thank you guys for watching and listening. And Joe, next time, you can always like send me a message because I really felt horrible. I don't know why, but I really did. And that really made me stop and think about like, life in general, my own life and everything. Because
yes.
we get so busy and, into our higher self and our goals and vision. And sometimes like we lose track of what's happening around us. And we don't want to be these kind of people
Absolutely.
and
No.
will be available in help. So yeah, thank you again. Thank you for always be available. Always say yes.
Of course. And thank you for the work that you're doing for this community. It's amazing. And I just pray God continues to bless you for what it is that you're doing because we know it takes a lot of work. It takes emotions. It takes so many things, time, money, energy, but you're consistent with it. So I just pray God makes you flourish with
Thank,
everything.
thank you so much. It really means a lot to me.
Yeah, no
All
problem.
right, all right, guys. Thank you for watching, and I hope everybody have a blessed Sunday.
All right. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye bye.